It's strange how the people you open your heart and home to can become the very source of your deepest wounds. I never imagined I'd begin my twilight years fearing for my life, not from illness, not from time, but from someone living right under my roof. Someone I once called family, someone I trusted with the keys to my kitchen, the stories of my youth, and worse, my son's happiness. Her name is Priya, my daughter-in-law. She entered our lives 5 years ago, all charm and sweetness. As schoolteacher with a gentle smile, she seemed like a breath of fresh air for my son, Arav. After years of him working late, living alone, eating takeout, and brushing off any mention of marriage, he finally met someone he said made life make sense. When he brought her home to meet me, I remember thinking how lovely she was. She helped me serve the tea, complimented my sari, and even asked for the recipe to my masala chai. For a widow who'd spent years in silence after losing her husband, I found her presence warm, almost soothing. For once, the house didn't echo with loneliness, but I was wrong. It started small, subtle things you'd ignore on any other day. I began feeling lightheaded, nauseous, and strangely forgetful. At first, I blamed my age, 60. 9 wasn't young. Maybe it was the blood pressure acting up again, or my thyroid, or stress, but it wasn't just fatigue anymore. My hands trembled in the mornings, my vision blurred sometimes, my heart would race at odd hours. I'd fall asleep in the middle of the day, and then wake up at 3:00 a.m. Sweating through my nightgown, still I told no one. You see, Indian mothers are trained to endure silently. We swallow worry like warm tea, bitter, but manageable, until the day I collapsed. It was just before breakfast. I'd been helping in the kitchen as always. Priya had offered to take over my medication runs a few months earlier. "Ma, you shouldn't have to stand in line at the pharmacy. Let me handle it." She'd said sweetly. I was touched by the gesture and grateful too. The pharmacy was a good 20-minute walk from home, and the heat was often too much. But that morning, after taking my pills with my usual warm water, my vision narrowed. I remember the cup falling. I remember Arav shouting my name, and then blackness. I woke up in a hospital bed, tubes in my arms, machines beeping gently nearby. Arav was sitting beside me, holding my hand with guilt flooding his eyes. "Ma," he whispered, "they said it was a reaction, something in your medication." A reaction, but I'd been taking those same pills for years. "I'll talk to the doctor," I said, trying to sit up. He gently pressed me back into the bed. "They've switched you to something milder. Just rest, okay?" But something in my gut twisted that night. And not from the medication. After I was discharged, I quietly began keeping track of things. I marked my pill bottles with tiny dots using a pen. I hid one strip in the drawer of my bedside table for comparison. I even began pretending to take my pills in the morning while actually tucking them under my tongue and disposing of them in the trash later when I was alone. I know it sounds dramatic, like a paranoid old woman, but the results spoke volumes. When I didn't take the pills for 3 days, I felt better. No tremors, no dizziness, no blurred vision. I actually slept through the night. I started testing them, taking half doses, sometimes skipping a day. The patterns became impossible to ignore. I'd feel sick only after taking the medications Priya brought home. One evening I called the pharmacy myself. It was an awkward conversation. The young man on the other end seemed surprised. "Ma'am, your prescription was picked up already," he said. "Yes, I know," I replied, "but I just want to confirm the name and dosage, just to make sure." He hesitated. "Hold on, let me check the logs." A few moments passed. "Looks like everything's standard. But wait," his voice trailed off. "What is it?" I asked. "It says here a change was made a few weeks ago, different manufacturer, slightly altered compound, requested by the customer." My heart sank. "What do you mean, requested by the customer?" The woman who usually picks up for you. Your daughter. My daughter-in-law. Oh, well, she asked for the change due to a sensitivity you apparently had. I felt my stomach twist. Did she give a doctor's note for that? No, just verbal. Did you make the switch? There was a pause. No, ma'am, I didn't. Something felt off. I gave her the regular meds, but didn't say anything. Figured I'd wait and see. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. You gave her the real medication. Yes. And what happened to the ones she brought home? I don't know. But I did. Suddenly everything made sense. Priya had been taking the real medication from the pharmacy, replacing them with something else, something dangerous, and giving those to me. The betrayal burned through my chest like fire. Why? Why would she do this? For a long time that night, I sat alone in the dark. I remembered every smile she ever gave me, every time she helped me drape my sari, every time she brought me my tea and said, "You're like my second mother." Lies. All of it. The next morning, I asked Araf to take me to the temple. "Ma, you should rest. I need to go," I said firmly. It's been months. At the temple, I didn't pray for peace. I didn't pray for health. I prayed for clarity, for courage, and when we returned, I made a decision. I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. This wasn't just betrayal. This was attempted murder. I needed proof, and more importantly, I needed to know what else she was hiding. Because no one poisons someone without a reason, not unless there's something darker underneath. That night, I started keeping a journal. Day 1, hid my meds, no side effects, felt clear. Day 3, Priya asked if I was feeling dizzy again. Noticed her watching me more than usual. Day 6, switched pills back to real ones. Felt normal. She looked annoyed. Day 10, followed her to the pharmacy. She argued with the clerk. I couldn't hear much, but saw her storm off. Day 12, Pharmacist called me privately. Said she tried again to request a change. She was persistent, and I was ready. Something inside me had shifted. I was no longer just a mother-in-law. I was a woman who had looked death in the eye, and seen that it wore a familiar face. But I would not go down quietly. If Priya wanted to play a game, I would play it better, with time, with grace and with truth, because while betrayal cuts deep, revenge, served cold and clean, heals something far more profound. To be continued. There's a kind of rage that doesn't explode. It simmers. After the truth came to light, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even confront Priya. I simply watched her, carefully, quietly, like a hawk circling prey that hadn't yet realized it was exposed. I had survived her poison. Now I wanted answers, and I wanted her to know that I wasn't the weak, withering old woman she assumed I was. I was a mother, a widow, and a woman who'd survived more storms than she could imagine. The pharmacist's truth. A few days after I followed Priya to the pharmacy, I received a call. It was from the young man who'd spoken to me earlier. "Ma'am, could you stop by the pharmacy?" he asked. Discreetly, "I think you should meet our head pharmacist." When I arrived, a middle-aged man in a white coat welcomed me into a small room at the back. "My name is Samir," he said. "I manage this branch. Kunal, the boy who answered your call, showed me the records of your prescriptions." I sat silently, unsure what to expect. "I've seen some strange things in my career, but never anything like this," he continued. "Your daughter-in-law attempted to alter your prescription more than once. Each time she claimed she had your consent, but the change she requested." He pulled out a copy of my chart. "She wanted your beta blocker replaced with a medication used to slow cardiac rhythms to dangerously low levels used in emergency cases, not for daily intake." My throat went dry. "She said it was what your doctor wanted," he said, "but no written note ever came, and your doctor never mentioned anything when we called to confirm. She could have killed me," I whispered. "Yes," Samir said gently. "But I had a feeling something was wrong, so we didn't make the switch. We gave her the regular meds. She didn't know. We let her think we complied. I suspected she'd do something, but I had no proof. And the pills I received, I asked, he hesitated. If she replaced them before handing them to you, they likely didn't come from us. That was all I needed to hear. Samir handed me the printed logs and some CCTV screenshots from the pharmacy. Priya at the counter, Priya arguing, Priya leaving with the package. "Why are you helping me?" I asked softly. "My mother's your age," he said, "and I've seen what happens when people trust the wrong family." I blinked away the sting in my eyes. "Thank you, be careful," he said. "She's not stupid, but you're smarter." The burden of silence back home, life carried on as if nothing had happened. The house remained peaceful, the dinners quiet. Priya even offered to make kheer one night my favorite. The audacity made my skin crawl. She smiled sweetly at me and said, "Ma, you're looking better lately. Must be the new meds, no." I smiled back, spooning a bit of kheer onto my plate. "Yes, Priya, I think the change has really helped. Thank you for taking such good care of me." Let her think I was still playing dumb. It was safer that way. Arav, meanwhile, remained blissfully ignorant. He had no idea of the war quietly brewing between the two women in his life. He left for work early, came home tired, and often scrolled through his phone at dinner. He never noticed how often Priya watched me, how often I pretended to take my meds and then spat them out. He didn't want to notice. That was the worst part. Arav loved me. I knew that. But Priya had become his world now. And I was just the mother, the old woman whose stories he still smiled at but no longer truly listened to. Planting seeds instead of breaking down, I began building up.